In leadership work, there are moral imperatives because leadership is about character. It's about consistently doing the right thing. We talk about doing the right thing, and we pass that around without protest. Yet how skilled and how equipped are we to actually know the right thing to do, and then to do it regardless of risk to self and regardless of fear of failure, fear of unpopularity, fear of looking foolish. So there are three moral imperatives that define and offer structure to the courageous leader of character. And we'll represent those three moral imperatives through a series of questions, through three questions from my good friend Sherlock. Sherlock, you have a question for me.
Yes, Holmes, what is the hardest thing to do as a human?
Yeah. Well, as a very flawed human being, I'm happy to share with you that my deepest struggle is doing the right thing, but not only the right thing, which I can loosely define and justify using my rationalization skills. But the hardest thing is to do the highest moral action. Notice how much more difficult, how much more challenging identifying and doing the highest moral action is compared to doing the right thing. This is the ultimate right thing. And I actually have to change my entire world construct from short-term results, from trying to look good, from trying to look flawless, in order to be someone who admits faults, seeks to learn, learns from error, and morally improves the self every day by looking in the character mirror and saying, what do I need to fix before I impose myself on human beings today? So the hardest thing as a human being, I think, is to do the highest moral action. And that is the first moral imperative of the courageous leader of character. It's not only do the right thing, it's do the highest moral action. What's your second question for me, Shirley?
Well then, what would be the hardest thing to teach others?
Yeah. So I think that's a great question, and the answer feeds into the first, which is the toughest moral imperative after learning how to do the highest moral action is intentionally developing others to be courageous leaders of character who can spontaneously, in time, do the highest moral action themselves. An organization that is rich in courageous leaders is an organization that's wonderful to work in, wonderful to be a part of, and for customers and for vendors, for people in the community, and for family members associated with that organization, it's as close to the perfect work world that we can achieve. So the first moral imperative is to do the highest moral action, to be a leader of character. The second moral imperative is to intentionally develop others into leaders of character. What's your third question, John?
Well, the third question then would be, what is the hardest thing to do as a leader?
Right. Thank you for the question. Let me preface it in this way. Those of us in the leadership development business, and I like to think of it as a profession, estimate that less than 5% of American managers are courageous leaders of character who seek in every respect to identify and then to do the highest moral action regardless of risk to self-interest. We also think that the number of leaders who intentionally seek to develop leaders of character is likewise small, somewhere in the under 5%. Many of us think it's under 1%, that we're in that much of a leadership gap and that much of a leadership deficiency. The answer to Sherlock's third question, what's the hardest thing for a leader to do? We see even less participation and engagement in this last third moral imperative, and that is to respectfully ask those who refuse to be people of character, particularly those in leadership and positions of influence, to leave. So it's actually firing those who lack character when they are in positions of leadership impact. So those are our three moral imperatives. What we know about them is that if we don't do them, we endanger the organization. What we also know is that they're three of the hardest things to do in the world, which is why we don't have a surplusage of courageous leaders of character. Yet you can be this leader, and you don't have to jump to the third moral imperative first. You can begin by seeking first to be that leader of character, that individual of courage, by doing the highest moral action in every opportunity, in every relationship, every day. Thank you very much.